In this episode, we're hearing from Andy Waltenspiel about why sales reps need to make sure to stay relevant by selling value instead of features. Andy runs Waltenspiel Management Consulting, connecting the dots for leaders in the TV, media, and technology industries, consulting on go-to-market strategy and sales excellence, and providing services on IP licensing, contract negotiations, and managing complex projects. Hi, Andy. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Yeah,
Welcome.
good.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good, excellent. So, you currently help companies with their biz dev and go-to-market strategy, and I know in a past life you headed up BD and sales at Samsung. The current climate is obviously there's a lot going on. What do companies need to be doing differently about how they approach sales, given everything in the world?
Okay, so let's park the COVID part of it for a second.
Sure.
So one thing I'm working with is mostly technology companies.
Mm-hmm.
Often they have fantastic technology, just sales is not so fantastic.
Okay.
Why is that? I call it they're often selling features instead of value. And I brought you a little snippet from a newspaper or from Forbes already 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It says AI will kill 1 million of B2B sales jobs by 2020, which is now. So does everyone need to be scary now? I'm not so sure, but the ones who don't add value in the sales process, yes, they do.
Okay.
So what does it mean? So the article was referring that sales guys in easy jobs where say you don't add a lot of value in the just order takers, they're in trouble because in the end, everything that's a process can and will be replaced by AI sooner or later. And the sales process is a process. So if it's easy, AI can do it. I mean, we heard Google Duplex take a phone call, make an appointment with a hairdresser.
Yeah, I remember.
Thank God, due to COVID, I was even able to get one just in time for the interview. We see McDonald's experimenting with voice in the drive-through, so voice assistant. So the first student job was maybe McDonald's. Now it's done by Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming. Of course, there's help, and the help is if you add value in a complex ordering process, in a complex sales, then your sales job will be safe, but it's not so easy. I brought another nice statistic. So that's from a study of 6,000 salespeople in 90 companies in the US that looked at how successful are different types of sales guys or ladies. Yeah. So if it's a low complexity, as you see here, hard work is good enough to make the deal. However, if you want to sell complex stuff, and in our industry, it's often very complex, thinking about, like in my previous life, a set-top box, custom-made software, or you want to buy a back-end system or something like that, that's super complex. And then, as we see here, the challenger type of sales rep is much more, with a large distance, much more successful than others. And why is that? Because this kind of people can, as the name says, challenge the customer. Said, okay, Mr. Customer, if this and this would happen, something bad, what would it mean? Yeah. And they're not the yes sayers. They're the ones that give alternative views. Said, okay, but have you considered this? Have you looked at that? Let's make sure we take everything into account. And then in order to close the deal, they're comfortable to speak about money, which is a quality not everyone has. Huh?
Sure. So does that mean that we all need to be positioning ourselves like that? Are we all needing to get into the challenger mindset?
I think no, not everyone needs to be a challenger, but I think being aware of what selling value is instead of reiterating the spec sheet and putting that first in your pitch. It's a lot about listening, and I think that applies to everyone. Not everyone will have the challenger mindset, and it's not easy to get there. It takes some training, it takes some thinking, and in the end, not everybody needs to be that. You need a team. You need still the hard worker. You still need the architects, the program managers, the engineers. You need them. So like you see here in the chart, there's the lone wolf that's quite surprisingly successful. I would rather pledge for something like the wolf pack.
Okay.
So a team with one hunter, that's the challenger, but then with complementary skills, and that might be just in a hunting team of 3 or 4 people. So that's something that works in general, and I've even have worked with some companies that I can't name them now that call their teams a wolf pack.
Okay. Not aggressive at all, Andy.
Not at all, not at all. But it works. I
Okay.
mean, that works. So now in COVID times, it's of course more and more difficult to meet your network, to meet. I mean, they probably do what we do now. We go on a call, you go on a video conference. It's impossible to physically meet people. It's slowly recovering now.
It is a big angle, right? Because actually meeting people face to face, we didn't have Mobile World Congress, we didn't have NAB. There were virtual webinars and things, but very much not the same. There's
Yes.
obviously currently a lot of debate at time of speaking about whether IBC will go ahead or not. RAI is pushing that they are, but there's significant doubt whether it actually will. How do you sort of change what you're doing based on that, because it reduces your ability to meet lots of people all at once?
Yeah. So I'm having many discussions with companies, operators, tech vendors on that as well. Several, and we've seen the first ones for NAB now. They try the virtual NAB or virtual ANGA. Often that's a webinar style with slides and somebody speaking. Very little interactivity, or the interactivity is just on chat.
Sure.
Others, even big names, have done fantastic 3D booth appearances on the web. I don't think that's the way to go. And I've heard from many, they don't want to click on a fancy booth because they're not coming to the web, to the IBC to see your fantastic booth. Yes, that's
Yeah.
nice, it's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
coffee,
Yeah.
but they're coming to have a conversation. And that's coming back to the challenger. This kind of person is great in having a conversation.
Okay.
It's not a presentation. It's easy to hide behind slides. It's easy to hide behind a fantastic 3D VR booth, but you're lacking the conversation.
Yeah.
And the conversation is the one where you find out what the customer really wants, where are the pain points, and where you can show him alternatives. That won't work with a VR where you have a chatbot inviting you to watch the video of the CEO.
Yeah.
Oh, what I think is the very interactive approaches, and there are some. For example, Technicolor was great. I was happy to moderate a sales kickoff for them. So there was a studio with cameras, very few people, but we streamed a live event to 400 people, which in the end was fantastic. It was not the same as being all in the room and having social stuff in the evening. Okay, you can't do that simply now. But people were very happy because instead of 2 days of death by PowerPoint, suddenly you get a 3-hour to-the-point experience.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's great. And now you can transfer that to a trade show setting, saying, okay, you do webcams. Some people can be in the office. Your customers can't travel, but produce it like a TV show. Produce it like an interview, like we do. But the customer is there. You can speak. You can have another window with a great demo, nice lighting, great sound. So make it as good as you can. Slides won't do it.
Yeah. And just, I guess, finding ways to have that conversation. And I mean, how about actually sort of going out of your existing network? I mean, that's obviously one of the things that trade shows are very useful for, is for meeting people who you wouldn't normally meet and you don't have in your in your address book. What can people be doing about actually sort of pushing the boundaries and expanding who they can meet?
Yeah, I mean, that's of course tougher because IBC, you just walk the hall, you stand on the booth, say, hi, here I am, I want to talk.
Yeah.
That will be more difficult. But still, I mean, if a company offers that virtual experience with a webcam, you can still probably register for a webcam meeting or virtual meeting. The other thing I would just recommend is work with partners. Use your network to reach out to people like you do today on LinkedIn, like you do in business. Can you help me get there? That is some of the stuff we do in my company. Others do the same. Work with somebody you trust and that can recommend you, provided you have something really valuable to sell. back to value selling, then I think it works. But true, it will be more difficult in these times. You need to do more effort. You need to stand out. If everyone does a webcam, if it does a webinar style, you want to stick out, and you won't do that with just better slides in another webinar.
No, but I think you're right. If there are partners out there where there can be mutual benefit, knowing the right people to go to and sort of helping each other out, that is a good way of leveraging each other's networks, and sort of extending that trust a little bit further along the chain, hopefully.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, thanks very much for talking us through that. So, value-based selling, finding partners, finding a way to stick out, curating events like a TV show. This is good. I particularly like Game of Thrones, Andy. So I'm going to pay attention to your next event, and I'm expecting dragons.
Okay.
Excellent. Nice to talk to you today.
Pav, thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.
All the best.
Follow Ovio on LinkedIn to see more in the Variety V series of conversations.